Dear friends, I'd like to welcome you to episode 14 of Data Science Live. My name is Mr. Campanell, and I will be doing some live coding with the R programming language, enjoying a little bit of mukbang. My brother-in-law, Chef Lou, has French dip, and I haven't seen it yet, but I know that it's going to be good. I know that it's going to be tasty, and hopefully provide a little bit of companionship here in the next 20 to 30 minutes. Today's episode is ranking data. And ranking data, what we want to do is we want to take values that are numeric values and put them into buckets and maybe get some percentages out of these. So this is good to kind of create numeric data and make categorical values out of it. And we're going to go through two examples on creating buckets with the ntile function in dplyr and the percent rank function in dplyr as well. And if I have a little bit of time, I might even go through an example to work through on here. So, in the habit, I've been getting in this habit, giving shout outs to all my new subscribers. And I have 3 new subscribers on Twitch. And I want to give shout outs and thank yous for following me on Twitch. The first shout out is to Smithy Wee Burnman Jensen. The second shout out is to Charmed. And third shout out is to KX Lim. So thank you very much for following me and supporting me on Twitch and Data Science Live. I hope I can bring some value and teach you how to do R coding and get a little bit of insights into data science as a career. So I'm ready to start. I'm going to loosen my tie. Let me get this. There we go. I have a full Windsor knot today. This is the first and probably the only time that you see me wearing a full Windsor knot. It's quite big, but it's a really kind of, I think, a stuffy tie knot. So I don't like to wear it that much, but I got it on today. The first thing before I get started again is I want to just put this link out here. Let me see if I can copy that. I'm going to try to copy this link that I have over here. I'm going to share it in the chat. This is going to be the data set that we're going to be using. And this data is from the city of Austin, Texas, and it is their mobility data set. So what the mobility data set is it tracks all these trips that are made in the city of Austin with these electric scooters and these electric bikes. And if you haven't seen these are, what are they? They're shared ride services, is I guess what they're called. And you rent these scooters with an app and you take your little trip. So that's what we're going to be tracking in the database. It has, I think, 1.9 million records in it. And we're just going to use the JSON Lite library to read this data off the website and dplyr to do our ranking. So let me just get started and bring in our libraries. Library, spell it correctly, Mr. Campanell. JSON Lite and dplyr. Okay. Turn these on and run these. Got our libraries in. Brought both of them in. So I'm going to use this JSON Lite package to read this in, and the function that we're going to use is from JSON, and you can put the URL in there, and I already have it over here onto the side, and I'm just going to kind of copy it in there, copy and paste it in there when we get to that. So our first one is going to be, it's going to load data from and we're going to call this rest for the response that you get back from the JSON call. We're going to use from JSON and text. We're going to bring in the response as text, and I'm just going to copy this that I have here and put it in. So this is the URL, and we're just going to do it for July of 2020. So these are the query parameters that we have to put in. So those are kind of your filters, and we'll run these. Okay, so the response for this query gives you back 1,000 records, and there are 16 variables. And I'm going to open this up so that we can take a look at our data. So we have a trip, we have a device, the vehicle type, the duration. The duration is in seconds. The trip distance is in meters. A start time, end time. I don't know what modified date. Month, 7. Your time, your day of the week. They have it in the city council districts, and then your year, and then you have some GeoIDs for your start and your ends on here. And the other thing I want to kind of pull down here is just kind of take a look at, so we read it into text, and everything that we have here is a character. And we have 16 records or 16 columns in here, and I just want to kind of shorten it for the for this analysis in the session. So we're going to be selecting on some of these columns. So I think one of the first things that we're going to do here is we're going to create our data set, and I'm going to call this Control Z. I didn't mean to delete that. I'm going to come over here. Maybe put it right, okay, and we're going to call this micromobility, because that is what the city of Austin calls this, transportation services. So resp, and then I'm going to pipe it in with MogRitter, and we're going to pipe in a mutate because I want to change these from the values that we're going to look at to numeric values. So mutate, and the first one I want to do is the trip distance. Trip distance, and we're going to say that equals as integer. We're going to convert them to integers, and we're just going to put in here trip distance. So we're just taking the value that is in a column and just converting it from character to numeric. And I also want to do this for duration. Mutate. We're going to do duration, minutes, and that equals as integer, trip duration, and we're going to divide that by 60, right? And we're going to get that from minutes, from seconds to minutes. And then the next thing I want to do is I just want to select our columns. So select, we're going to do device ID, vehicle type, trip distance, and duration minutes. Let's run this and see what we get for our data frame that we're going to be using for this analysis. Well, what did I get? Duration min error occurred. So yeah, I was doing something wrong here. Okay, so we want to take trip as integer. All right. Did I put that parenthesis there in the wrong place? Let's give that another try. Yeah, that's what I did. Wrong parentheses, wrong place. Let's take a look at our data. Okay, so that's good. So our scooter types, we've got scooters. Most of them are all scooters here. Our distance in meters, the device, what it is, and the duration in minutes. Good. Now, it's time to get started on doing the rankings. And what I want to do is I want to do a bucket rank on the duration, and I want to put it into 3 buckets. So these are I kind of want to look at these as our types of trips. So we're going to either have like a short trip, a medium trip in duration, and a long trip in duration. So I'm going to group them into 3 buckets. I'm going to call this bucket ranks. And buckets. And we're going to do micro mobility. I'm going to pipe that to, we're going to summarize this. Summarize trip group equals ntile is the function that the ranking function that will put it into buckets. We're going to use duration min, and we're going to put it into 3 buckets. Let's take a look and see what we have here. So buckets 1,000 with 1 variable, and so here's our groupings 1, 2, 3. As we can see it down here. Now, in order to add this to the micro mobility set, I'm going to call this micro buckets. And we're going to do a bind calls on this. And we're going to bind micro mobility and buckets. So I'm going to run that. So micro buckets, 1,000 observations. We've got 5 columns in here, right? You got 4 from micro mobility and 1 from buckets. So let's just kind of take a look at this one. So here we have our trip groups. As you can see, we're seeing like, anything looks like under 5 minutes is our short trip, 5 to, I don't know, anything over 5 and 6 here, looking at our medium trip. And then our long trip is having like things like 23 minutes, 15 minutes, 19 minutes here for the long trip. So looks like we got our buckets in good shape here. And that's that for bucket ranks. So then, just to summarize it, you're taking continuous data and making it into categorical groupings using the ntile function. Really nice and handy. So the next thing I want to do is percent ranks. And percent ranks, what we did on this one was we kind of grouped them into buckets. What percent ranks is, it's going to take those values and create ranks between 0 and I guess 100% or just 0 and 1. I'm not sure. We'll have to take a look at the data. Oh, it's between 0 and 1. And then you can use those into groupings to create like your percentile groups. So let's call this percent ranks. I'm just going to pull this down just a little bit more here. So PCT ranks. We're going to use micromobility. And I'm going to pipe that in. And it's going to be really similar to what we did with the buckets. Summarize. And we're going to call this percent. Is that? We're just going to call this, call it just PCT. PCT rank and, equals, I did summarize. Percent rank, duration min, and I think that's all that I need to do. I don't have to put anything else on the end. Okay, percent rank with, again, one column. We'll take a look at it. Yeah, so it goes from 0 to 1. Well, I think 0 to 1, but probably to 0.999 something. And these you can use these as into forming your groupings later on. So that is your percentile ranks, and maybe, just maybe, I'm going to give it a example here to take a look at our buckets. So, or maybe not. Maybe it's just time for some. Yeah. Let's just do the mukbang to the subject here from my brother-in-law, Chef Lou, and I just kind of want to pull this up and show you what we have here. Look, this is called a French dip sandwich. So you have a jus sauce to dip it into. You've got some sliced beef here that's been roasted, along with some provolone cheese on a French baguette. So that's what we have here for our mukbang, and I just kind of want to get this set up here for you to do some practicing on your own. And if you can kind of take a look at the code, copy and paste or type it out for the next probably about 5 minutes. I'll dig into this for about 5 minutes. And so go ahead and practice. I'm going to chow down here. I'm going to move my keyboard over here and start to dip, right? All right, so this is, let me just show you. The procedure is you dip it in here all the way in so you get the nice juice from the roast that's all sucked up into the bread, and it gives you a really nice beefy flavor sandwich to enjoy, which I'm going to do right now. Maybe I'll just point something out here. You can see the juice is all absorbed here in the baguette, and that's where you really get the flavor. That's where the flavor really comes through on this sandwich. Now, personally for me, I find like baguettes are really not the optimal piece of bread to use on sandwiches. Although a lot of people would disagree with me, but I like it on this sandwich because when you do dip it into the au jus sauce, it softens it up. The crust will soften it up, so it makes it a nice chewable sandwich. We'll get some more here. I do like this sandwich, so you might be seeing me eat quite a bit here today. And if you're following along with me live here, you can send questions to me in the chat. I follow chat on Twitch and I follow chat on YouTube. We don't have, unfortunately, we don't have the chat for Africa TV on my multi-streaming service, but send in your questions if you have anything, and I'll certainly reply to you. So that's it for the sandwich now. Just to wrap it up, the the ranking functions in dplyr are really nice to convert continuous variables into categorical variables. The ntile is great for creating buckets. In our case here, are evenly distributed buckets. And then the percentile rank is good to, if you want to get a little bit more creative with your buckets, you can use the percentile rankings and say, okay, for group 1, I want the first 10%. For group 2, I may want 10% through 30%. And group 3, I may want like 31% through 60%. So that gives you a little bit of flexibility in creating groups based on your continuous variables and your data. So that's it for episode 14 of Data Science Live. I hope you learned a little bit here. I will post the blog on datasciencelive.com, so you will have the code to copy and paste and keep practicing. I'd like to ask you to please subscribe to my channel on Twitch, on YouTube, on Africa TV, and turn on notifications for when I go live. I appreciate your companionship with me here today, and until the next cast, goodbye for now, dear friends.